Welcome to Hope Channel International. This video explains that you might not necessarily have to be a believer to have God work through you.
Now, he's got this incredible kingdom. He's got an incredible position of responsibility. And we find out in other chapters, like Daniel chapter 2, Daniel says, you know, the head of gold is you. God has given you this kingdom. So here's the question. God made him this all-powerful king, or permitted this to happen. Does that mean that God will work through a non-believer in this world? I mean, he's got all the Israelites at his disposal. Why is he picking a pagan king?
There's several answers to that, Sean, and they're very important for today's Christian world. Number one is that the Israelites, they were going away from God and not obeying Him and not honoring Him. And the same thing can happen in the Christian world today. Just because we know Jesus and we believe we're saved, it doesn't mean that we are secure like Nebuchadnezzar was secure. And the other thing is, yes, God uses pagan people, and He speaks through pagan people. And one of my favorite chapters on this in the Bible is Romans chapter 2 and Romans chapter 1. And it really tells us that God is no respecter of persons. And this is really important as Christians, Sean, that we understand this. Romans chapter 2 and verse 11, for there is no respect of persons with God. Now, who is Paul talking to here? He's exclusively addressing the Jewish people. Because the Jews, well, we're God's chosen people. We are His favored people. Hey, let's pat ourselves on the back. But then Paul goes on to say, in the next couple of verses, start with verse 13.
Okay.
For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. You see, the Jews were hearing the law all the time, but they weren't in obedience to God. And then I like verse 14 and 15. You want to read that for us,
Yeah,
Sean?
Romans 2, verse 14. For when Gentiles who do not have the law by nature do the things in the law, these, although not having the law, are a law to themselves. In verse 15, who show the work of the law written in their hearts.
In their hearts.
Their conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves and their thoughts accusing or else excusing them.
You know, what is this saying to us, Sean? It is saying that it's not your profession. Just because you call yourself a Jew, according to Paul, that doesn't mean anything. What means something is that if you're in obedience to God. And God saw underneath all the pride and arrogance of Nebuchadnezzar a good heart. And He saw a man that if he worked with him long enough, that he would come to God and he would surrender his life to God. And so I love that about God. He doesn't respect you. Just because you say you're this religion or that religion doesn't mean you're God's favored person. What means something is if you have a heart for God and you're in obedience to Him.